A family lunch in rural Victoria ended in unthinkable tragedy. 3 lives were taken by a meal laced with death cap mushrooms. At the centre, Erin Patterson, now convicted of murder. In Melbourne's Supreme Court, grieving families confront her once more. And in a moment that shocked the courtroom, came an offer of forgiveness. In Melbourne, convicted murderer Erin Patterson has appeared at a pre-sentencing hearing in the Supreme Court of Victoria, facing relatives of the 3 family members she was found guilty of killing. Patterson, 50, was convicted in July for serving a beef Wellington laced with death cap mushrooms at a family lunch in 2023. The meal killed her former in-laws, Don and Gail Patterson, along with family friend Heather Wilkinson. Heather's husband, Pastor Ian Wilkinson, was the sole survivor. Ian Wilkinson addressed the court in an emotional victim impact statement, recalling his wife of 44 years as intelligent, witty, compassionate and brave. Fighting back tears, he said he felt half alive without her, condemning Patterson's callous and calculated disregard for life. Yet Wilkinson also offered a striking note of grace. While he made clear he had no right to forgive Patterson for the deaths of others, he said he could extend forgiveness for the harm inflicted on him personally. What foolishness possesses a person to think that murder could be a solution for their problems, especially people who only have good intentions towards her? Erin has brought deep sorrow and grief into my life and the lives of others. In regard to the many harms done to me, I make an offer of forgiveness to Erin. I say harms done to me. I have no power or responsibility to forgive harms done to others. I encourage Erin to receive my offer of forgiveness for those harms done to me with full confession and repentance. Wilkinson urged Patterson to use her years in prison to seek change. He said his prayer was for her to become a better person and that he bore her no ill will. Observers noted Patterson appeared emotional, holding back tears as she listened from the dock. Other relatives also addressed the court, describing the lasting scars of the tragedy. Heather's daughter, Ruth Dubois, said the case had inflicted trauma across 4 generations of her family, calling it unimaginable horror. She condemned Patterson for planning and preparing the fatal meal despite knowing its consequences, and lamented the public spectacle surrounding the case. Simon Patterson, Erin's estranged husband, also submitted a statement. He said their children had been robbed of their grandparents and of the relationship with their mother that every child naturally has. He further criticised the intense media scrutiny, which he described as remarkably dehumanising. I miss my parents and aunt more than words can express, and I think of them often. They have also been robbed of hope for the kind of relationship with their mother that every child naturally has. Don Patterson's elderly mother, now 100 years old, also gave testimony, expressing the grief of outliving her son. Relatives spoke not only of the emotional devastation of the murders, but also of the strain of a drawn-out investigation and trial. The courtroom atmosphere reflected a complex mix of grief, anger, and extraordinary restraint. While most relatives voiced devastation and bitterness, Wilkinson's words stood out for their determination not to be consumed by hatred. The hearing also revisited evidence from Patterson's trial that raised questions about her motives. Prosecutors presented searches on her devices about toxic plants, including death cap mushrooms, red kidney beans, and hemlock. Investigators also traced visits to areas in Victoria known for the fungi. Patterson has maintained that the mushrooms used in the dish were purchased from a local supermarket. However, prosecutors argued that the pattern of research suggested deliberate intent. A 2021 Facebook post was also highlighted, in which Patterson described a cat becoming sick after chewing a mushroom, despite not owning a cat. Prosecutors argued this pointed to her awareness of the fungi's dangers, though the jury did not hear it during the trial. Throughout the proceedings, Patterson denied any intent to cause harm. She has insisted she never meant to kill anyone, even as criminologists observed that she has shown little visible remorse. Patterson was convicted in July of 3 counts of murder and the attempted murder of Ian Wilkinson. In Victoria, the maximum penalty for murder is life imprisonment without parole, a sentence Patterson could now face. For the families, the conclusion of the legal process may bring a measure of closure, but the enduring grief is evident. Ruth Dubois described the deaths as a wound that will never fully heal, and Simon Patterson said the tragedy had left their children permanently scarred. As the hearing proceeds, one of the most haunting aspects is the clash between evidence of deliberate planning and Patterson's continued insistence that she never meant to harm anyone. For the survivors and the families of the dead, the pain is permanent. Whether justice will provide peace remains uncertain.